world of 1990, and it's not going to be the world of 2030. We are transforming the way that we communicate with each other. We're transforming the way that we gather information from the rest of the world. Something is going to happen. I am convinced of this, that will force the issue. Consider that just 25 years ago, the Internet was almost a completely unforeseen development in this world, and look how it has transformed our world. 5 years ago, YouTube was just being invented. 5 years ago. That's it. Smartphones, about 5 years. So we're, as I say, we're on a trajectory, and it seems to me that at some point between now and the next 50 years, at some point between those two ends, we're going to hit a tipping point when there's going to be a forcing of the issue. And the question that we can ask is, well, when will that be between now and then? Could it be tomorrow? Could it be 20 years from now? I don't know. But this is why I think disclosure will happen. And so if it happens, as I suspect that it will be forced, maybe some major event that just cannot be denied, for instance, then the powers that be, so to speak, the president or whomever is appointed to do this, are going to have to talk to the world. They're going to have to make a statement. And I can assure you that that statement is not going to be completely truthful. In fact, I don't think it would be possible for it to be completely truthful. Try to imagine being the guy to tell the world that ETs are here, that UFOs are here. I can be honest with you, I would not want to be the person to do that. You know for sure that there's going to be a certain amount of panic. There's going to be financial repercussions that are going to be extreme. There's going to be political repercussions. It's going to be a firestorm. And so any political leader is, by almost necessity, going to need to walk as quietly over this as possible without alarming people. And by definition, that means they're going to have to fib or lie. The issue, the problem, though, is going to be how long will they succeed in lying? Indefinitely or not? I think the answer is not. They're not going to be able to do this forever, because once it's respectable and allowable for this whole topic of non-human intelligences to be discussed by the world, not just by a couple of people like us out on the fringes, right, but by everyone, then I believe it's going to be very difficult to maintain control over this issue for those elites. So I'm not sure where I was going here with that, but that's it's one of these things where you can't just do it a little bit.
Oh yeah, I think the cat's out of the bag already, because I know I looked at a Time CNN poll a while back, and they said 86% of the people believe that their UFOs do exist and there is a government cover-up. And then all of a sudden I see the polls change like 2 weeks later to like 40% or 50%. And I go, what happened to that 86% poll that they had before? So they're fudging the numbers on those. But I think
a lot of how they word the question, don't you think?
Yeah, oh yeah. The vast majority of what I've seen, and getting out and just talking to John Doe public out there, it's amazing that if you ask them, well, so what do you think? Do you think there are UFOs exist and that the government is covering up? I would say the vast majority that I've experienced, and even in a Baptist community, would say yes.
I agree.
Real redneck community here. And they say yes, but don't tell the church. But church, I said that, because they don't want to get in trouble, with their. But in their heart of the hearts, most people know. I think the cover-up's over, but I have a really strong feeling by this November, and definitely by next year. I don't think this is going to last more than 2 years, mainly because of their agenda and what the ETs are going to be doing.
Well, that's interesting. I realize, I guess you're supposed to be interviewing me, but let me ask you, sir.
Sure.
What do you think is the agenda, and what's going on?
Well, it's my understanding that there's multiple agendas going on, and that's one of the problems with the UFO community. Each one has part of the agenda and thinks it's the whole agenda, and then they're fighting between each other. And some are saying it's nuts and bolts, it's back engineered stuff, and that's it. Some people are saying it's grays, and agreements have been made with the government, and they've been back engineering some of their technology, and there's been a trade for their technology with human genetics and things like that.
Right.
They have that group, and then they have the victim group, and then they have the group that says, they're just non-interference. They're just observing, they're not doing anything, and then they have the group that says they're going to come and save all of humanity. So
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think there are different groups that have different agendas, and we need to recognize that. I'm sure you've recognized that, and there are some groups that are self-serving, and we have a long history of those groups coming here to the earth if you look at the ancient scriptures. And then you have some groups that are coming here that are very benevolent and here to serve and help us in our evolutionary process.
So having said that, then why do you think there's going to be a forced forced upon us by an ET group in the next year or two?
Well, what I see is that there's an evolutionary process going on, like what you were talking about, is we are evolving, and I think it is our destiny to unite with the rest of the universe in peace. And there's an awakening and healing process that's underway. So I kind of feel like one group is phasing out, and they've kind of had their reign here, and that's the low-level contacts and the other things. And that's just from my own information that I've been getting. And that a new group is coming in, and it's just part of an evolutionary shift that we're going through. And with this new group, they're kind of going to be in charge of how this unfolds. And I think the real disclosure is going to be coming from the skies, as you said, and it's going to push the leadership to do something. And I don't think it's going to be malevolent at all. I think that malevolent side is actually being ushered out by the more benevolent one.
Okay, well, I really want that to be the case, so I'm on your side.
Yeah.
Let's promote that one.
Yeah. So, that's my understanding of it.
I want that to be true.
Yeah. But, I'm flexible. I don't hang on to any reality. I'm flexible to other realities. But
we have to be, I guess. We have to.
Yeah. I've experienced both sides. I've experienced the extremely benevolent side, and I've experienced some that are impersonal, and I've seen some that were very manipulating and did not feel good at all, to have that experience. So.
Well, I'm glad to be able to chat with you about this because, it's not that I have to agree with whoever I'm talking with, but I do happen to agree with you. And I think that, as I've said earlier, too, where it's a complex situation. You go back historically through this phenomenon, as I've really spent my years doing this. I've studied this as a historian. That's my training. Mm-hmm. You look at how researchers in the 50s and 1960s looked at this, and out of necessity, I think it was a much more simple way. The idea was it was one group that was perceived to be coming here, whoever they were from another planet. Presumably, it was thought that they were from another planet in our own solar system, like Mars and Venus were the two candidates. Back in those days, 50 years ago, people were just not talking about this the way that we do today. The concepts and the ideas that we have to discuss this, you wouldn't hear people discussing much about like time travel or dimensions or different types of entities from different, far, far, far away, as I think we are now. So, in other words, I guess our ideas on these others, as I often like to call them, have evolved a lot over the years, and so that means I think we're at the point now where we can recognize that there appear to be multiple of them, and they're not necessarily all on the same page. Every now and then I get what is purported to be insider information from this or that source in some intelligence enclave, and I frequently do get this type of information. I can't confirm it, of course, but the information being that there are multiple groups and indeed rivalries among some of them. Almost you might characterize it as a kind of silent Cold War among some of these groups. I would even suspect that it would include human groups in the clandestine world. One of the ideas that I've been that I guess I put out for the first time in my second volume of history, and I've really expanded on in my newest book, A.D., after disclosure, is the idea of a breakaway civilization. And really by that, what I think has happened in our clandestine world is that with radical technology, radically different ideas, and separated away with a lot of money from the rest of us, that the clandestine world, this one part of it, has evolved in a way that's vastly separate from our own civilization. Mm-hmm. So much so that they can be considered a separate or breakaway civilization. And I'm of the opinion that this group interacts with these other entities in some way. So that, and I'm not sure that this breakaway civilization is itself unified, incidentally. Mm-hmm. What I think we may be dealing with is a kind of splintered, factionalized Cold War setting in which there's a prize for these people. And the prize is technology. The prize is scientific knowledge. The prize is learning how to interact with space-time reality as well, and being able to manipulate that. I don't think they all play nice with each other. At least that's the scenario that has occasionally come to me through these sources.
I think you're very accurate on that one, because I've heard some very not so nice things happening within those different factions. And have you done much research into the, well, I don't even know if they call it the NASA, but it's the Secret Space Fleet, or the second NASA we don't hear about?
I'm interested in that issue, yeah. I don't know if there are people, I think, who probably know a lot more about that than I do, but it is something that I think a lot about, and I've discussed and looked into on my own. My opinion on this is that there is the secret space program. Now, I don't know where I stand regarding the claims of a number of the people who have claimed, for example, to go to Mars. Mm-hmm. Let me refrain from a comment on that. I'm not saying one way or the other. I have, however, reason to believe that, we covertly have developed radically advanced technology, let's say our own flying saucers, for lack of a better word, that has enabled this clandestine group to go off-world or off the planet. I believe that they do that. I have been told, in a way that sounded credible to me, that there are, in fact, secret bases on the far side of the moon. I'm sure a lot of people in this field have heard this. I have, and I've gotten it in a way that from sources that I think are plausible. Now you think, well, how the hell do you provision yourself in the far side of the moon? But look, it's not as hard as you think. If you know how to split oxygen out of water, which we've done that for a long, long time, you could probably do almost anything you need to under the ground. Mars, I'm not as certain about. I certainly believe that there are serious anomalies on the surface of Mars. Whether that means that we have a permanent base there, I'm not willing to say one way or the other yet. But I will say that I think we have a secret space program. I mean, think of it this way. Look, there are no shortage of anomalies that are recorded in Earth's orbit. No shortage of these, of objects, NASA and European Space Station, Russian footage, video, showing things that really are not easy to explain, and I think are some of them are truly anomalous technology. Whether we've made them or whether someone else has made them, that's cause enough for a secret space program. In other words, if we made them, well, then that proves we have a secret space program.
Oh, yeah.
If we didn't make them, if that's some other intelligence, that's still ample motivation for a secret space program, because clearly you'd want to spend some money to get people out there